Are your accounts and passwords safe? Are you sure? Let's face it, in today's digital world, we constantly hear stories about this company that had their email hacked, that one that was infected, and the hospital that got compromised. But what does this really have to do with you? Everything. Believe it or not, if you haven't been affected by some kind of cyber incident yet, it's only a matter of time before you are. Staying vigilant with your passwords will only go so far as hackers are getting smarter, more sophisticated, and computers are becoming more powerful to hack those very same passwords you've been using for years. So what's the answer? Well, let's talk about passkeys. Passkeys are a modern authentication method designed to replace your traditional passwords. This is also known as a passwordless authentication. Now I can hear the questions being shouted at me already. If I'm not using passwords, how can I possibly keep the information secure? Well, here's the beauty and simplicity of passkeys. Passkeys use what's called a public and private key pair to keep your information secure. To understand passkeys, you need to understand what a public-private key pair is. If you already know, go ahead and skip ahead to the next section. With a public and private key pair, each individual has their own private key that they keep only to themselves. They never share this private key with anyone else. Since the key is never used anywhere, it can't be compromised externally, meaning from a company's web server or breached in a data attack. The public key is openly shared with any resource on the internet. But grumpy sysadmin, if I share my public key with everyone on the internet, how does that keep me safe? It works because any information encrypted with your public key can only be decrypted with your private key. And since you never share the private key with anyone, only you can decrypt anything encrypted with your public key. Want an example of how this works? Say I want to initiate a conversation with a website. I'll first ask the site to send me an authentication request to securely talk to them. But here's the problem. If they send the request in clear text, anybody eavesdropping on the conversation can hear or read the information, and that wouldn't be very secure now, would it? Here's where your public key comes into play. The site takes the information and encrypts it using your public key. This site now sends this encrypted data back to you. Because you're the only one in possession of your private key, only you can decrypt the information. Even if someone is listening and intercepts the data, it won't do them any good because they can't decrypt it. Using your private key, you can decrypt this information and set up a secure channel of communication between you and the other site. And the remarkable thing? You've actually been doing this for years and you didn't even know it. You know that little lock symbol you see on your browser when you go to an HTTPS secure website? The S stands for secure. You want to know how it secures it? You guessed it, with a public and private key pair. Now back to passkeys. Passkeys use a public-private key pair to secure your connection to sites you want to access. Banking, government utilities, e-commerce, and more. Using a public-private key pair, your password is never transmitted to the other person or service. They don't need your password. They just need to know it's you. And because you've configured a passkey with your public-private key pair, they can use that to confirm your identity every time you want to connect. Passkeys are stored on your device and new codes are generated every time you want to connect to a resource, so there's nothing to steal. No passwords to hack. It's different every time. It's the keys that keep it safe and secure. When you register your device for a passkey with a site or service, your device generates a public-private key pair to be used only with that device and site. The public key is shared with the service and your corresponding private key is stored on your device. When you attempt to log into that service again, it sends a challenge that can only be read by and responded to by your private key, verifying your identity without ever exposing the key or a password. Now, why are passkeys important? 1. They enhance security. Passkeys are far more secure than traditional passwords. They're immune to common attacks like phishing, brute force, or guessing because the private key never leaves your device and is never transmitted over the internet. 2. Eliminates password fatigue. If you're practicing good password policies, you have a different and complex password for every single site, right? But people are people and will tend to use the same password on multiple sites, even if they're using a password manager. With passkeys, a person simply needs to use a PIN or biometrics to use their passkeys on a local device. This reduces the need to remember all those different and complex passwords. 3. User-friendly. Passkeys are very user-friendly since, depending on their device, you can simply log in by providing a PIN or biometrics, making the login process faster and more convenient. 4. Reduces the risk of data breaches. Since passkeys don't rely on a centralized database of passwords, the risk of a data breach affecting you is significantly reduced. Even if a site or service you use is compromised, your passkey remains on your device and not the service. 5. Future-proof. More and more services are adopting passkey technologies, and you can expect this to not only continue, but to accelerate going forward. Passkeys provide a wide range of compatibility and consistent secure login experiences across multiple different devices and services. So how do you go about using passkeys? Well, that's all up to the site or service you're communicating with. But there are a number of things you can do to make sure you're ready and able to use passkeys wherever they're supported. 1. Check your device's compatibility. Ensure that your device supports passkeys. Most modern smartphones, tablets, and computers come equipped with the required hardware and software to support them. 2. Enable biometric authentication. Make sure you've enabled and set up biometric authentication on your specific device, such as a fingerprint or facial recognition. This will be used in conjunction with your passkeys for secure logins. 3. Register with passkey-compatible services. Look for services and websites that support passkeys. Many major platforms, including Google, Microsoft, and Apple, are adopting passkey technology. Follow their respective registration process to configure them on each respective platform. 4. Use a password manager or authenticator application. Many password managers and authenticator applications now support passkeys. These can help you manage and synchronize your passkeys across multiple different devices, ensuring you always have access to them when needed. 5. Stay informed. As passkey technology evolves, stay up to date on new developments and best practices to maintain your security. Do you think this makes you more or less likely to use a passkey in the future? Make a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. If you like this video, leave a like and hit that subscribe and notification buttons so you don't miss out on any more grumpy wisdom. And remember, my friends, stay grumpy.